yesterday, Trump, sorry. That was for real, I'm sorry. He even surprised some Republicans with sweeping pardons to the January 6th insurrectionists, including Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and other violent rioters. But he wasn't thrilled about Biden issuing pardons of his own on the way out. Take a look.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Of our problem. We need a free and fair press badly, desperately. I watched the way they asked questions of Kamala yesterday. Howard Stern, he's a weak guy. He's weak. He's going, what about, it was so ridiculous.
For years, The View operated as a platform where co-hosts, led by the likes of Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, launched relentless attacks on Donald Trump, his family, and anyone remotely associated with his political ideology. The discussions often teetered into outright hostility, with accusations and insinuations thrown around under the guise of hot topics. Trump, his children, and even his wife Melania were routinely dragged into the line of fire. Ivanka was labeled as an enabler of her father's alleged corruption, Donald Jr. was mocked for his vocal support of Trump's policies, and even young Barron Trump wasn't spared from offhanded jabs. The show thrived on controversy, turning political discourse into daytime television fodder, while their criticism of Trump became a consistent ratings booster. For a long time, the former president weathered these attacks, publicly dismissing them as fake news and mainstream media nonsense. However, behind the scenes, Trump and his team were quietly laying the groundwork for what would become a devastating and decisive counterstrike. The turning point came when The View aired a particularly inflammatory episode accusing Trump of manipulating financial systems to inflate his wealth and evade taxes. The segment, which the co-hosts framed as an exposé, quickly spiraled into unsubstantiated personal attacks.
He lost the last time, and for the last 4 years, all we've heard is, I won, they were mean to me, I won. You lost! Yeah. You lost!
Trump's legal team responded swiftly, filing a defamation lawsuit that didn't just name the show, but also the individual co-hosts and the network executives overseeing it. The lawsuit was a legal bombshell, meticulously crafted to hold The View accountable for years of unchecked defamatory rhetoric. Trump's lawyers unveiled a treasure trove of internal communications from the show's producers, revealing a pattern of sensationalism prioritized over factual accuracy. Emails showed producers pushing unverified claims simply because they made for great TV, while some co-hosts privately expressed doubts about the allegations they discussed on air. The revelations painted a picture of a show more concerned with maintaining its cultural relevance than adhering to journalistic standards, a damning critique that left the network scrambling. Adding fuel to the fire, Trump's family rallied behind him with their own lawsuits and public statements.
I think that a lot of questions, what's going on? This is not normal. And is it really shocking that all this egregious violence goes against my husband? Especially that we hear the leaders from the opposition party and mainstream media branding him as a threat to democracy, calling him vile names. They only fueling a toxic atmosphere and giving power all of these people that they want to do harm to him. This needs to stop.
Melania Trump filed a separate case accusing The View of repeatedly defaming her by questioning her role as First Lady and insinuating she was trapped in an unhappy marriage. Ivanka Trump released a scathing public statement, calling the show's treatment of her family a campaign of personal destruction masked as political commentary. The lawsuits weren't just about legal retribution. They were a coordinated effort to dismantle The View's credibility. Trump's children, particularly Ivanka and Don Jr., took an active role in gathering evidence, with Don Jr. making several media appearances to hammer home the narrative that The View was little more than a partisan propaganda machine. Trump himself amplified the lawsuits with his signature media blitz, taking to Truth Social, interviews, and even his rallies to ensure the public knew every detail of the show's hypocrisy and misconduct. The fallout was swift. Advertisers began pulling their sponsorships, unwilling to be associated with a show mired in controversy. Viewers started tuning out, either disillusioned by the legal revelations or drawn away by Trump's portrayal of The View as an unfair and biased operation. The network, facing mounting financial and reputational losses, was left with no choice but to pull the plug on the show. The cancellation was announced abruptly, with the network issuing a vaguely worded statement about restructuring its programming to focus on new opportunities. Behind closed doors, however, insiders revealed that the decision was driven entirely by the devastating impact of Trump's lawsuits and the public relations nightmare they caused. For Trump, the dismantling of The View was the ultimate vindication. The show had been a thorn in his side for years, but his takedown wasn't just about silencing his critics, it was about exposing the flaws of a media landscape that allowed such a platform to operate unchecked. Trump turned the end of The View into a rallying point, framing it as a victory for fairness and accountability against a media machine he claimed was out to destroy him. His supporters celebrated the cancellation as proof of Trump's resilience and ability to fight back against what they saw as cultural and political bias. In the aftermath, the co-hosts of The View faced their own reckonings. Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, once untouchable figures in the world of daytime television, found themselves ostracized. Joy, known for her brash and often polarizing commentary, struggled to find work as networks distanced themselves from the controversy. Whoopi, who had enjoyed a long and celebrated career in Hollywood, saw her reputation.
I think it would be naive, and I think it would be dishonest for us to say that this president that we are looking at is the same person that we looked at in 2020. I think it would be dishonest for us to look at him and his performance now and his performance across the board, really, not in terms of policy and what he's gotten done, but when he speaks and his appearances, that this is the same man that was Barack Obama's vice president for 8 years. And it would be dishonest for us to look at his record as a senator, which is a darn good record, and say that that is the same man that we are looking at today. And that concerns me, okay? But what I will say is, they say behind every great man is a great woman. Kamala Harris, as Anna said, is...
In the weeks following the abrupt cancellation of The View, the aftermath continued to ripple across the media industry. Trump didn't just stop at celebrating his victory. He doubled down, using the demise of the long-running talk show as ammunition for his broader crusade against what he labeled the dishonest liberal media. At rallies, he delighted his supporters with mock reenactments of the show's final days, impersonating the co-hosts as flustered and defeated. He described the legal battle as a necessary move to restore truth in media, framing himself as the champion who exposed the bias, lies, and hypocrisy that had been hiding in plain sight for years. Meanwhile, the Trump family capitalized on the win. Ivanka Trump, often a target of The View's most personal attacks, emerged as one of the loudest voices during the fallout. In interviews, she spoke candidly about the toll the show's rhetoric had taken on her family, not just politically, but emotionally. She described how her children had been exposed to unfair criticism and how her mother, Ivana, had been deeply hurt by the show's unrelenting mockery. This wasn't about differing opinions, Ivanka said in a sit-down with a major news network. This was about weaponizing a platform to destroy us. They thought they were untouchable, and they learned the hard way that nobody is above accountability. Melania Trump, typically reserved and private, also broke her silence. In a rare public statement, she expressed relief that the show was no longer on the air, calling its cancellation a victory for every individual who has been slandered and demeaned by careless words in the name of entertainment. Her defamation case against the network resulted in a sizable settlement, further fueling the perception that the Trump family had decisively outmaneuvered their opponents. The network's executives, desperate to contain the damage, launched an internal investigation to determine how things had spiraled so far out of control. Reports from within the network revealed a culture of complacency, where ratings took precedence over journalistic integrity. Producers admitted to scripting certain debates to ensure maximum drama, and some staffers confessed to cherry-picking stories that would fuel outrage, particularly against Trump and his allies. The revelations not only destroyed what was left of The View's credibility, but also tainted the network's other flagship programs, leading to plummeting ratings across the board. For the co-hosts, life after The View was anything but smooth. Joy Behar, whose sharp tongue and unwavering criticism of Trump had made her a polarizing figure, attempted to pivot to a podcast but struggled to gain traction. Many sponsors were hesitant to associate their brands with her, fearing backlash from Trump supporters who had taken up the cause of boycotting businesses tied to the former co-hosts. Whoopi Goldberg faced a similar fate. While her acting career had been celebrated for decades, the controversy surrounding The View cast a long shadow. Studios grew wary of hiring her, not wanting to deal with the baggage of her association with the scandal-ridden show. Some of the younger co-hosts who had joined the panel in later years found themselves blacklisted before their careers had even properly begun. The fallout wasn't limited to just the show and its hosts. The cancellation sparked a broader conversation about the role of opinion-based programming in shaping public discourse. Critics from both sides of the political spectrum began scrutinizing other talk shows and news programs, questioning whether the pursuit of entertainment value had eroded the line between commentary and factual reporting. Even Joe Rogan, who had been a vocal critic of The View, weighed in on the controversy during his podcast, calling it a cautionary tale for media figures who let their egos override their responsibility to the truth. "You can't just make stuff up and expect to get away with it forever," Rogan said. "The Trumps fought back, and they won. It's a wake-up call for a lot of people." As the dust settled, Trump used the cancellation of The View as a springboard for furthering his media empire. Rumors began circulating about his plans to launch a new television network or digital platform dedicated to real news, free from what he called mainstream media corruption. His supporters rallied behind the idea, eager to see their leader create a platform that would rival the media giants they had grown to distrust.